Hey, it's Johar. Welcome back to my channel, to the Witchy Reader. So I'm going to be reading a snippet from my very first published book ever. So it's definitely not my best. Um, I've definitely improved a lot since then, but I still like the overall story of it. And I wanna read a snippet of it. I read a snippet from The Curse of Light and The Witch of Light recently-ish. I think it might have been a month or two at the least. Um, and I want to read a snippet from each one of these books. It's a trilogy plus a prequel, and um, and then I want to read snippets from my current series, cause why not? Um, a chapter from each book basically. So this is the first book, Jasmine, Perez, and the Wicked Sorceress, and this is chapter 20, Ambushed. So it's near the end because there's 26 chapters, I believe. I have it on my KU because I don't have a physical copy right now. Yeah, there's 26 chapters. So I don't think it's too spoilery. I don't think there's anything necessarily too spoilery. You might be confused as hell if you haven't read it yet. Um, but it's a fight scene, obviously, because ambushed. And I love fight scenes. And so this was definitely one of my first real battle scenes. I think, yeah, there were a couple small fight scenes in earlier in book one, but this is like the first real battle we see. The good guys do not come out on top. So, is this one? Okay, never mind. There is a battle on chapter 24 also, but that one they really lose. I don't want to spoil it too much. So I think I'm gonna go with this foul scene because they don't lose as much. I don't think, and so it's all and this, like I said, this one I don't think gets too spoilery. The one in chapter 24 will. So yeah. Anyways, here's the chapter. They were all tired, but Jasmine knew that they were close to Ben's cottage. She could just feel it. They had already passed Ava's cottage and took the opportunity to rest and restock supplies, but Jasmine was on a mission, and everyone could see it. Ava walked up to her. "You're impressive." Jasmine looked away. "Thanks, I guess." Jax ran up to them. "Hey, Ava, I was hoping we could talk." "Can it wait?" Ava asked. "No," Jax replied. Ava sighed. "All right." Jasmine smiled at Jax as he kept his promise about keeping Ava away from her unless it was a matter of the mission. Jasmine could feel something coming. Danger. She looked around, but didn't see anyone. But she knew they were there. She spun around and looked at Jenny, who was talking to Ben. "Jenny!" Jasmine screamed. "Move!" Jenny looked at Jasmine, confused, when they all heard a noise. Ben pushed Jenny out of the way and screamed as he fell to the ground. Jenny gasped when she noticed that his shoulder was pierced with an arrow. "Ben!" Jenny exclaimed. "Ben!" She had tears glazing her eyes. "I'm okay, Jenny. It was just a flesh wound," Ben told her, "but it still hurts like hell." Jenny let out a laugh as a tear rolled down her cheek. She put her hand on the side of his face and leaned in, kissing him gently on the lips. Jasmine looked up to see soldiers upon soldiers walking closer to them. The leader had a bow and arrow, while everyone else had swords. "There's a lot of them," Ava muttered. "Too many," Jax agreed. "Princess Jasmine," the head soldier spoke. Jasmine raised an eyebrow. "You know who I am?" "Of course. You are the one destined to defeat Lilac." "You guys keep on going. I'll hold them off," Jasmine told them. "No," Jax refused. Jenny got to her feet, dusted herself off, and helped Ben stand up as she pulled the arrow out of him, causing him to yelp in pain. She made sure he was okay, and he nodded in reassurance. Then she turned to face her best friend. "We stay together, Princess," Jenny told her, "no matter what." Jasmine nodded. The head soldier pointed his bow and arrow at Jasmine and shot it when Jax ran in front of her. "No!" Jasmine screamed. The arrow was just about to hit his heart when the arrow suddenly turned to dust. Everyone was confused. When Jasmine stepped out from behind Jax, she had a fierce look in her eyes. The head soldier glared at her. "I am Stephen Sayante. The sorceress wants you dead, and I am here to make sure it happens." "You do not have to do this," Jasmine told him. "The sorceress is wicked and awful." "I know I don't have to, but I want to." Stephen had a smug smirk, and Jasmine narrowed her eyes. She quickly threw magic at him as he was flown backwards and on top of other soldiers as they all fell. Jasmine stood tall with her head held high. Stephen stood up and held his bow in the air. "Attack!" Stephen yelled. Ben ran and attacked one guy as the guy punched him. Ben kicked him in the chest and then jumped and kicked him in the face as he fell. Jenny fell to the ground after someone attacked her. Jasmine summoned a shield in front of her, which blocked the man's sword from striking her. Then she summoned a sword next to Jenny. She picked it up and stabbed the man. Then she stood up as another man ran after her. Jasmine summoned shields and swords as everyone else as well. Jack smiled and swung his sword at someone. The man blocked it with his own sword, and they kept clanking them together. Ava looked at the shield and sword. She knew it was safer than using her magic. She hasn't used her magic since she left the kingdom, except the little bitch when she showed Jasmine that she possessed the curse too. Jasmine thinks it's a gift, but Ava knows better. Magic only causes pain and heartache. It isn't natural. It makes you a freak of nature, but a mother will go to extremes to protect their children. She put the sword and the shield down as she put her hands out. She took a deep breath and focused. She hasn't used her magic in so long. She might be rusty. Fire flew out of her hands and burned one of the soldiers. Or maybe she's not rusty at all. 5 soldiers ran towards her. She moved all her hands in a circle as air formed and blew them a far distance away. 2 more soldiers ran toward her and she splashed water at them. Then she stomped her foot on the ground and the earth moved and knocked them down. Impressive, Jenny commented. Ben nodded. You can say that again. Jasmine was fighting Stephen. He shot several arrows at her quickly as she jumped and moved to avoid and dodge them. He shot another arrow at her and she did a flip as she fell on her back. Stop it, you insolent little girl, Stephen exclaimed. Jasmine stood back up and stared at him. I am not insolent. Jasmine tapped into her aura and it shined white. Pierced her heart. Stephen shielded his eyes as her eyes turned white. She held out her hands as a strong and powerful magic blasted around him. Ava decided to help by making a crack on the ground and separated Stephen from everyone else. There was just a several piece of ground he was standing on, shaped in a circle. Jasmine's aura went back to normal. She collapsed to the floor. Jax ran over and helped her up. Are you alright? Jax asked. I am now, Jasmine replied. Jasmine noticed a woman with black hair that goes a little past her shoulders. Do you guys think you can handle this? Jax nodded, yeah. Jasmine ran and followed the woman. Wait! The woman stopped and slowly turned around. Hello, Jasmine. You know who I am? Of course. The princess that's destined to defeat Lilac. I'm so tired of everyone telling me what my destiny is. I will choose my own destiny. The woman smiled. You have fire inside you. I like that. Jasmine stepped forward. Who are you? Amara. Steven's in charge of the soldiers. I'm in charge of Steven. So you work for Lilac? Jasmine asked. I do, Amara replied. Why would you want to? I have my reasons. Jasmine stared at her for a moment. I don't think you're evil. Amara frowned. Why not? You just don't seem evil. I can read your aura, and it's good. Amara was silent at first. Well, your powers must be off. They're not. Jack swung his sword at another soldier and used his shield to block the soldier from striking back. Another soldier came up from behind him. He raised his sword over him, but Jax didn't notice. Penn pushed Jax out of the way and blocked the impact with his own sword. Jax quickly stabbed the soldier in the side. He grabbed his wound and fell to the ground, dropping his sword in the process. Thanks. Sure thing. Jenny blocked a soldier's sword with her shield. Then she swung. There's a lot of S's in this paragraph. Anyways, then she swung her sword and slit his throat. He dropped his sword and grabbed his throat, blood pouring out as he collapsed. Jenny turned around and kicked another soldier. She swung her sword and he blocked it with his own. Ava stomped his foot on the ground as the ground went up and moved, knocking 20 soldiers down. Then she splashed some water on them and lit them on fire as they screamed. Jax hit a soldier over the head with the handle of his sword, knocking him out. He looked over at Ben and saw him fighting a soldier as another soldier creeped up behind him. With his sword raised in the air, Jax ran to him and stabbed him in the back. Ben stabbed the other one he was fighting and turned around to see a dead soldier and Jax standing there. Thanks, Ben commented. You do the same for me, Jax told him. Jasmine stared at Amara. You can fight this. You can fight her. Amara shook her head. I can't, Your Majesty. You have your own destiny and I have mine. I already told you that I will choose my own destiny and you can choose yours as well. But you have to make the choice to choose. That's just the thing, Jasmine. You believe that everyone always has a choice, but that's not always the case. At least it's not for me. I can help you. No, you cannot. Jasmine stepped closer to her, but Amara stepped backwards. Amara, why do you trust me? Amara asked. I don't know, Jasmine replied. It's just a feeling. You shouldn't run your life on feelings and senses, Amara told her. It worked out for me so far. Amara sighed. Being an optimist and kind-hearted might have worked inside your palace walls, but they will not work in the real world. The world is a dark and cruel place. and there isn't any hope here. Stephen ran to them. Ma'am, is it time to abort the mission? Amara nodded. For the time being. Men, move out, Stephen yelled. Stephen walked away, giving the princess a last long glare as the soldiers followed him through the woods. Amara glanced at Jasmine once more, mixed feelings across her face, before following them. The group finally approached Ben's cottage. Finally, Jenny exclaimed, I need a hot bath. Ava nodded. Me too. Jax walked up to Jasmine. You okay? Jasmine met his eyes. Yeah, why? You've been silent since the battle. It's hard to explain. Just trust me, Jax. I do. Jasmine smiled at him. I have to go inside and rest for 24 hours, Ben muttered through a yawn. Jasmine stopped him. Not so fast. I'm tired, Jasmine. Ben told her. Take off your shirt. Jasmine ordered. What? Ben asked. So I can see your wound, Jasmine replied. Right, of course. He unbuttoned and took off his shirt, wincing as his still injured wound. Jasmine exclaimed examined his shoulder closely, lightly touching it, as Ben winced once again. It was still bleeding. May I have a towel? Jasmine asked. I'll get one, Jenny replied. Ben handed her his keys and she walked inside. They waited as she walked back out and gave her a towel. She placed it on the wound to stop the bleeding. Ben winced in pain as she pressed harder. Jasmine's eyes turned white. Jasmine, Ben commented. Her hands started glowing light blue. Everyone watched curiously and with intrigue. Her eyes went back to normal and she removed the towel to reveal that Ben's wound was completely healed. He flexed his shoulders, smiling. It didn't hurt at all. It was as if he was never injured to begin with. How'd you do that, Princess? Jenny asked. Healing is the second most rare of all magic, after General, Ava replied. But since Jasmine has General, she possesses the gift of healing. Jasmine looked at her hands and slowly smiled. That was the chapter 20, Ambushed, of book 1 in my Jasmine Perez series, Jasmine Perez and the Wicked Sorceress. I hope you enjoyed that little snippet. I got a little tongue-tied, but thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys later.